Welcome to Reading with Eva. Let's get on with the bookish video. Today I am walking you through top 20 books that I read in 2024. I have talked about all of these in extensive detail in the past, so I'm not going to go into the rants again. Well, I say rants, like good type of rants again, because it would just be me repeating myself. So what I'm going to aim to do, I will talk about each book in 2 sentences. One to summarize the plot, another one, it's one of my favorite books of the year. Some of these I have mentioned in like my first half of 2024 5-star reads. I didn't get around to making one for the second half, but pretty much any book that I read in the second half of the year that's worth talking about is mentioned here. So number 20 is an audiobook that I have listened to, and that is Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates. It is a woman going undercover on an incel website and just exploring what depraved type of mentality these men have towards women, communities regarding women, and so on and so forth. It is a messed up, horrifying experience to learn that there are loads of men in the world who see women that way, and it really makes you question, are we ever really going to be safe in this society as women? Is every man who is involved with us or like somehow in our lives thinking these thoughts privately? It is eye-opening and perspective shifting, but it is important to listen to if you can stomach it. Number 19, I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This is a lit-fic dystopian book about 40 women who were trapped for God knows how long in some cage, watched by these men for no apparent reason until one day they can get out, but the world that they get out into is pretty much empty. This is a beautiful exploration of what it means to be human when everything that makes us human is stripped away from us. It's an exploration of womanhood in a world where it doesn't really matter anymore. It has existentialism, it has ponderings, it is bleak, it is sad, it is poignant, it is beautiful. Number 18, Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. A missing person thriller set nearly 10 years after the fact, when the mother of her missing teenage daughter starts dating a man who has a girl who is a spitting image of her missing child. And this book is easily the darkest Lisa Jewell that I've read to date. It is heartbreaking, it is horrifying, it delves into mindsets of dark, messed up people. It is not afraid to go places, but ultimately it is a story about finding ways to cope and move on and heal in the face of immense trauma. True Lisa Jewell. Number 17, She's Always Hungry by Eliza Clark, a short story collection that has multiple genres, multiple narrative devices. It talks about the theme of hunger, hunger for something, hunger to be loved, hunger to be beautiful, hunger for knowledge, to own a new species, to be violent, to do a lot of things. It is a polarizing work of hers that has mixed reviews. However, for me personally, it worked with her signature dry wit, with her versatility, and her not being afraid to try new things even if it doesn't always work out long term. This was a very interesting project that I look forward to discussing in more detail in a future video. Number 16, Exalted by Anna Dorn. A witty, tongue-in-cheek, hilarious story about a woman who scams people by charging $200 per an astrological reading of their planets, their charts, and whatnot. And then she gets obsessed with a guy who sends a request for a reading because his chart is exalted, which means like he's amazing. And a woman who is a lesbian with BPD who has done some horrible stuff in the past and is struggling to shed her reputation and find a new love interest. Their paths connect in the most hilarious and unexpected way possible. This is an interesting exploration of people who want to have a genuine connection with someone, but they're seemingly incapable of achieving that through what society deems as natural, normal means. And one tiny caveat for this one, some people say that its representation of OCD is not accurate and it should not have been named in the book as OCD when it's not. I can't comment on that myself as I'm not diagnosed with OCD, although I do have some tendencies, but it's just something that you might want to check out if you find that stuff triggering. Number 15, Penance by Eliza Clark, a true crime non-fiction mock-up. So this is a fictional story, but pretends to not be fictional, about a girl who was burned alive by 3 of her former friends. And this dives into dissecting the perpetrators and trying to decipher exactly why they did what they did. In true Eliza Clark fashion, we get a brutal exploration of what it's like to be a teenager and all the aggression, passive aggressiveness, all the anger, and all the things that come out with it. And it takes an interesting spin on bullying and the perfect victim stereotype, and it really makes you feel for characters that still deserve everything that's coming to them for things that they've done, but you can understand why they are the way they are. Number 14, Bunny by Mona Awad, a fever dream-like story about a girl who joins a cult, essentially, in her university, and it gets really weird. I think in a way, the less you know about this one, the better. It is unique, it is intriguing, it is weird in the best ways possible. It will make you think, it will make you question everything, and by the end of it, you still won't know what hit you, but you will enjoy every moment of it. Number 13, American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. Patrick Bateman is a Wall Street banker in the 1980s New York by day and a murderer by night. This is a hilarious yet horrifying portrayal of consumerism and vanity and self-involvement that we as a society are very guilty of, and it portrays really horrifying things in manners that actually can be perceived as funny if you have the right sense of humor. This is not one for everyone, but for those who can identify with that sort of writing style and the sort of satire that it's trying to convey, it's definitely the one. Number 12, Not a Happy Family by Shari Lapina. A thriller about 3 siblings who find out that their parents have been brutally murdered just hours after they've seen them last for Easter dinner. They immediately rush to fight over their inheritance, except the police think that one of them has had to have done this because it's just too close, too personal, too many possible motives. So we see as the investigation develops. This is not so much of a whodunit, murder mystery solving. It's a great thriller about how horrible people can be and how it's easy to lose the trust in the person you think you love when money, status, and power are involved. It is a wild ride that took me one sitting to get through. Number 11, Some Girls Are by Courtney Summers, my girl. This is about a Regina George / Blair Waldorf mix of a protagonist who gets knocked off her throne when her best friend's boyfriend tries to assault her, but everyone, including said best friend, believe that she instigated it, as in tried to seduce him. And things escalate from there as she quickly becomes the social pariah who is severely bullied by her former friends. This is a breathtakingly realistic, heartbreaking, exploration of how horrible being a teenager can really be. It talks about, can someone who is a horrible person who's done horrible things in the past still be bullied themselves, and if so, do they deserve it? And what does it mean to know that people you loved and trusted are this quick to turn away from you and say that you're the bad guy and do horrible things to you? I adored this book, although it's definitely not an easy read by any means. We are now in the top 10, and number 10 is The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. This follows a young girl whose mother disappeared when she was a toddler, and now a true crime documentary wants to cover the case. During the making of this case, her mother reappears out of nowhere, and she thinks that the story that her mother is telling about where she's been this whole time is a lie. This is a very suspenseful and genuinely creepy thriller that will really make you think twice about the people you call family and the people that you idolized your whole life. It is amazingly written. Her true return to form has great character work, great family dynamics. It is messed up. It is very vindicative, if that's even a word, in what unfolds. Number 9, The Secret History by Donna Tartt. It's a classic. What else can I say about it? It's an epistolary novel that was the start of the dark academia subgenre, where a young man tells a story of his university days in this North Carolina private school where he ran into some people who liked to do bad things. It is a slow burn that completely immerses you in its atmosphere. The language is dense in the best possible way, where every word drips out of the page on you to make you feel what you're reading. It is complex, it is intriguing, it is messed up in a very understated, realistic way. It truly deserves its title as a classic. Number 8, Alice by Christina Henry. This is a super dark retelling of Alice in Wonderland, where Alice is a mental patient who escapes during a fire with another crazy person who is now her guardian, and both of them have to find the rabbit because they believe that he's the cause of a lot of things going on. It's messed up, graphic. Check your trigger warnings because there's lots of sexual assault in this. Just felt the need to say this here because it is a big theme here. It is extremely well written. It really immerses you into the world, dumping just the right amount of exposition to draw you in, but not to overwhelm you. It has some great imagery, and it is genuinely creepy. So, yeah, absolutely deserves the spot on the list. Number 7, The Mary Shelley Club by Goldie Moldavsky, a YA slasher about a rich group of kids who take a traumatized girl under their wing, and they take their pranks, as much as they hate to call them that, a little bit too seriously, to the point where they attract the attention of a potential real killer. This is a great commentary and look into some rich entitled people who think they can just get away with anything. It has a very sympathetic and interesting protagonist, a romance that will really make you turn your head 180 as you keep reading, and some genuinely creepy moments that feel very real to life because we're dealing with real things here. Basically, the Scream mixed with Gossip Girl is the perfect description of the story. Number 6, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. A well-known classic about a young girl who meets a man who could be her father in age, and she gets proposed to by him and moves to his estate, where it's haunted by his first wife in more ways than one, let's just say that. This is a surprisingly twisty story that just drips suspense from the page. It's atmospheric, it's gloomy. It really makes you think about a lot of things. It will make you hate men. It is well thought out, and again, a rightful classic that I would not hesitate recommending to anyone who reads anything. I feel like it can fit into a lot of genres. Top 5, everybody. Number 5 is Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach. An unnamed narrator pieces together memories from his childhood that are now gaining a new meaning when he realizes that he had an obsessed stalker his whole childhood. This is a terrifying, real thing that could very unluckily happen to someone, and it has happened in the past. It is creepy. It is written in an accessible, entertaining way. Well, maybe entertaining is not the right word. It is easy to digest, but it is also creepy, terrifying, and a couple little tidbits with the plot do not diminish the feeling. That is worth 5 stars alone. Number 4, Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. Labeled a female American Psycho, it's not entirely accurate, but the similarity is definitely there. It follows a woman who is a photographer who wants to break out into the industry, but there's a lot underneath the surface as she deals with a lot of repressed inner trauma from various times of her life, and she resorts to interesting measures to feel better in life. It is such an interesting exploration of set trauma. The protagonist is extremely flawed and sometimes hard to read in the best way, as you want to shake her but also give her a big hug. Everyone is complex and well written in the story. The dynamics bounce off each other. Every page has meaning, and it is easily, as much as all of the 3 of her books are in my top 20 for this year, this one is easily her best work to date, and I don't know what she would have to write for that book to top this one for me. Number 3, The Push by Ashley Audrain. A woman who never wanted kids but relents to have them for her husband realizes that she probably should have stuck to her guns because her daughter is essentially the devil. It sounds quite cheesy, but this is more of a literary suspense than an outright thriller. It talks so much about expectations of mothers in society, how mothers are not allowed to complain or be ungrateful or be sad about anything, the lack of support they receive from their husbands. It just delves into all of that in a way that doesn't feel forced, and even though none of the characters, including our narrator, are likable, they are all extremely well written, and their dynamics are so layered and so interesting, and it genuinely has a creepy feeling that you cannot shake because of how real it is. Arguably, this was the scariest book of the year for me. Number 2, Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. A very surprising one for me. This is a lit fic about 2 women who are married. One of them is a marine biologist. Her expedition got all messed up and she was missing for months. Now she's back, but she's different. Something's not right. This is a creepy story of a bit of a Lovecraftian essence that also interlopes themes of grief, loss, apathy that comes with realizing that the person who you loved and thought you'd be spending your life with is no longer there. It is just the right length, just the right density to be easily digestible, and it touches upon these themes in a very specific way that only this author can write. I loved it so much. And now, what is my favorite book of the year? I wonder what it could possibly be, and that is a bit of a basic answer, but I'm not sorry, because that's how I feel, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. A woman who does not want to marry someone she doesn't love in the 1700s France decides to, well, kind of is duped into making a pact with the devil where she gets to live forever and do whatever she wants, just live her life and be free. But there's a catch. No one can remember who she is as soon as she leaves the room. And she spends 300 years living like this, with only the devil to keep her company from time to time, until she runs into someone who remembers her, and everything changes. This is beautiful. The magical realism element is put in the story perfectly. It wows into the themes of what can we do to leave our mark in the world? What does that even mean? Why does it matter if we're all going to die one day? Does living forever negate any kind of meaning in life? Because if your life's never over, then is there any motivation for you to do anything with it? What makes someone a good person? It has 2 types of romances, which I was very surprised by my preferences to those. It has interesting explorations of a lot of things while still being an interesting story to follow in its own right, and it completely deserves all the praise that it's getting. Or, I mean, I don't know if it's getting praise this day because the hype's died down a bit, but I definitely understand why it was so popular, and I'm glad that I finally... And that is it. These are the 20 books of the year. I had more 5 stars that I left out because as much as I loved them, they weren't like top 20 because I just read so many good books this year. I generally had some new all-time favorites like in my whole life. These were some of the best books I've ever read in my nearly 28 years of existence. And I am only hoping that in 2025 and in all the coming years that this is going to continue, because I just love good literature. It is really one of the things that are worth staying alive for. Poetry and literature and art, it's a beautiful thing, and it's definitely something that I'm glad to be able to experience. So if you liked this video, if you read any of these, please share your thoughts. If you didn't like some of these, it's your opinion, that's completely fine. We all have them. I mean, God forbid we think differently. It's almost as if, our brains are not designed to be in sync all the time as a human species. So I respect your opinion fully, but these are my favorites. And if you would like to subscribe, I would love to have you here.